I'm going to go over the exact principles we use to rank our products #1 on Amazon search pages, and it's not traditional SEO like you think. With the introduction of AI and the advancement of Amazon, it's become much more complex, and I'll dive into it exactly now. I'm Jassim Isa, CEO and founder of Voadera, an Amazon marketplace e-commerce company that does hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And in this video, I'll cover why organic ranking is always the end goal on Amazon, how the A9 ranking algorithm works, when Amazon decides to rank you at the top of the first page, and finally, the 10 principles we use to improve our offer and push us to the top of the first page. So for the first section, I want to mention why organic ranking specifically, is so important. So just generally, obviously, you want to be the first at the top page because as customers scroll through, you're going to get exponentially fewer and fewer eyeballs. If you're outside, I would even say the top 4 or 8 positions on the first page on Amazon. You can even think for yourself when you're searching for something on Google. How often do you go to the second page? How often do you even scroll to the bottom of the first page? And you could think of your customers the same way. So if you want the most amount of eyeballs, you obviously want to be at the top, and you also want it to be organically, because technically you can artificially prop up listings sponsored to be at the top. You're just gonna fund a lot of money. It's very unlikely to be profitable. So that's why organic ranking is always the end goal for us in our listings. We can even run unprofitable SKCs, single keyword campaigns, for specific targets, just eventually so we can get to that organic ranking position at the top, so we can profitably get sales at that first position and be there for the long term. So now that we've assessed that we obviously want to be as high as possible so we can get the most amount of eyeballs, also known as impressions, for our listings, what is the Amazon A9 algorithm that determines that? So basically, if I wanted to go very high level, it relies on 3 things. It's relevancy, CTR, and CVR. So relevancy is the group of keywords or search targets that Amazon attaches your product to. So for example, if I have earplugs here, I use these sometimes, for some, they're going to be very relevant for noise canceling, but they're not going to be as relevant for, let's just say, workout equipment, or let's just say snacks, obviously. So if you're trying to, so Amazon doesn't wants to show this product for the most relevant keywords to it. So even going back to workout equipment, maybe it could be relevant, just not as relevant, because let's say someone wants noise counseling, they want to focus on the workout. Theoretically, it might be slightly relevant. It's more relevant for maybe working equipment, right? Because when you want to work, you want to focus more. But that's how Amazon determines relevancy. It's a gradual scale to make sure that the customers are seeing what you want. And then for click-through rate, so once the customers, it shows up as relevant, it's customers are clicking on it. They're seeing the main image. It's showing the main UVPs, unique value propositions, they're going through. And then last, but definitely not least, actually, the most important one is CVR, conversion rate. Are they buying it once they go through that process? So that's how the A9 algorithm works. The higher you are in one, the higher you are going to be in the rest. It's like a flywheel. So you want to make sure you're optimizing for the relevant keywords. And when you're showing up for the relevant keywords, you're giving the customer enough information on the main image, the title, so that they're clicking on it. And then once they're clicking on it, you're also reassuring them you have a solid offer and they're finally buying it. Now for the third section, we've established how important organic ranking is. We've established how the algorithm works. So now, when does Amazon decide to rank you organically? There's a primary factor that I'll get into later, but I just want to make sure that we set the precedent with what Amazon is actually looking at. They want a healthy, seamless customer journey. So you could think of 2 customer journeys. The customer journey is like the path a customer takes to find something. So the first one, the customer spends 20 minutes looking, they're pressing on a lot of listings, they press on the listings, they don't find what they want, they don't buy anything on Amazon, the customer leaves Amazon pissed. That's not what Amazon wants. Amazon wants the customer to have a very seamless experience and eventually obviously spend money, because that's how they make money. So ideally, they're typing in what they want, the relevant product shows up, right? They're pressing on it and they're buying it immediately in the shortest amount of time possible. They're spending the most amount of money, and they're also, the customer is happy because they're knowing that I got what I wanted, and they didn't spend too much. I didn't have to spend too much effort getting it, and eventually also when they get it, they get what they wanted. Obviously, that's where reviews and ratings come in. So that's the underlying principle. And Amazon purposely, they align the incentives of the customer with the seller. So they're rewarding you if you offer the customers a seamless customer journey. So how do they know you're offering the customer a seamless customer journey? All comes down to conversion rate. Because obviously, if you're having If you have a good conversion rate, that means your click-through rate and your relevancy are appropriate as well, because that's the final stage of the funnel. And if that looks good, then everything before it is good, and everything before it can be optimized. And I'll explain how we can get into that later. So what does a good conversion rate look like? So for us, we like to be 2% over the market, and that's how we know we can rank top 3. And I'll get into the 10 principles that improve your offer and in turn improve your conversion rate, obviously. That's the next section. So over here we have an example. I want to actually look at the numbers very quickly. But in this case, the market conversion rate is they had 1,568 total clicks, and of those 1,568, 279 people bought it, which gives us an 18% conversion rate. So that's how much the market is doing. In turn, our listing specifically, you can see here, we had 73 people click on it and 7 people bought it, which is a 9.5% conversion rate. So there's 2 scenarios you can go from here. Either, like I mentioned in the first scenario, our conversion rate for our products is 2% over the market. So in this case, would have to be at least 20%. And the other scenario is that it's not 2% above the market, it's below 20% because the market is 18%. So in the first case, let's assume it was over 20%. The only acceptable scenario I'd allow is that it has to be ranked to the top 3. And the reason for that is we know everything looks good. And how do we get it to the top 3? We have to signal more volume to the Amazon algorithm. And how do we signal more volume? Then we go back to the thing we mentioned. The first step is you run an SKC. So we see the keyword that we're doing that for, which is on the left side of it. So it's the same one here. With that keyword, we run SKC, single keyword campaigns, which are obviously exact target for a specific keyword. And then we run and we put a lot of money into it. It's not going to be profitable initially because we're trying to signal volume to Amazon. And then Amazon signals that, oh, this is actually doing really well. They see that the conversion rate is really high. We make sure the click-through rate is also optimized, the main image and the title, obviously. And then once Amazon sees this volume, they're going to increase our organic rank time over time. Our sponsored rank is going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 from day 1. But the organic rank, maybe it's going to be 40, then we go 38, then we go 36, then we go 34. Eventually, over the case of, let's say, 4 weeks, usually is what we see, we're going to get to that top 3 position, and then we can scale back the SKC that's unprofitable and continue to rake in organic sales. The other scenario, which is it's below 90%, which is this case, now we have to go to the 10 principles to improve our offer to make sure that we're beating the market. So it's that simple, and that's what it comes down to. So now let's get into the 10 principles. The first principle is knowing your customer avatar. This is where it all starts. You want to understand what your customer wants, and because based on this, you fill your listing accordingly, and you know what keywords to target as well, and you know which keywords are relevant, which ones aren't relevant. One small example is we had a pet treat, and this treat was targeted towards small dogs, and small dogs, their chewing capacity or their jaws are not that strong. So it was easy chew, but we didn't mention that in the content. It was all the way in the 4th page. So once you brought it to the 2nd page and it got more views, our conversion rate went up but that all started with understanding our customer avatar. And that gets to the second part is once we understand the customer avatar, the second principle, we have to prioritize according to their priorities. So in this case, easy chew is very important. Organic maybe was a 4th or 5th priority. We can put that later. We can maybe put that in the bullet point. But if it's a first priority, for example, another case is we were selling a children product, like it was a playmat basically, and it was safety and it was making sure that it's non-toxic materials. That was the first priority for mothers. So we added that to the title, and that improved. It was in the bullet points before. So making sure that we understand the customer priorities and we accordingly prioritize it in our listing. We know what's going to get more views. The title is going to get more than the bullet points. And the premium A+ content, the first slide is more than the ones below. So making sure that we prioritize our content according to that. The third one is the new age method of SEO. It's intent-based SEO instead of keyword stuffing. So before, the ANAL algorithm was much more rudimentary, basic, where you could put very basic keywords and just stuff the same keyword 6 or 7 times in the title. Now it's actually against Amazon policy anyways. But besides that, you don't want to do that in the first place because it doesn't align with how Amazon's ranking. Now they're doing intent-based. So when you want, for example, let's just say the playmat, you want to make sure you write soft for children between ages of 0 to 7 months. You want to describe what the product is, what the intent of the customer is, because when they ask Rufus, you want that to show up and you want to make sure that you're there. So that's where you make sure that you understand the intent of your customer, which first you have to understand what your customer is, and you have to fill it with it. And that's how you get a more aligned and better offer to make sure that your customers are more satisfied. The fourth principle is to fill your PDP. You want to make sure that all sections are filled up, the alt text, the categories, everything looks sufficient. Even if I know some people don't believe in premium A plus content, I disagree with them. Yeah, it's not that important, it still helps. But even if you don't, you still want to fill it up, because when you have that section filled, when your customer's scrolling on the mobile, it takes them longer to see offers similar to this. So you make that further. So it's more on your product. You can add your brand story in there. You could add promotions. You want another section that's very underrated to find. This is like a tactic for now, is the Q&A section. So you want to have people ask about your product, even put competitor names in there, and then you respond with a lot of basically explanation, very thorough response. It shows up in Rufus, but not only shows up in Rufus, it also shows up in the ranking for when people are typing things in. So that's another area you can leverage to fill up your PDP. So using all your images, using all your videos to communicate the customer needs and to indicate to the algorithm what you're for and to help your SEO. The fifth one is creative. We can make entire videos just on this section, but the truth is, you just have to communicate the customer needs very, very obviously. You have to make sure that everything is standing out. You have to make sure it's very clear. You don't want it to be too busy. I'm not going to jump too deep into it, but you have to make sure that obviously your creative is locked in. You're not duplicating the same information across other ones. You want to use the real estate of the 6-7 images for different content. That's just a couple high level activities. I'm going to make a video on creative, specifically how to optimize it for it in the future. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get that when it gets there. The sixth one is pricing. So pricing, obviously lowering your price means you have a better offer, but that's very basic. We want to make sure that we try to have a high price while still making a better offer. There's a few ways to do that. One of them is strike through pricing. So you want to make sure that your list price or retail price stays high, and when you do promotions, you do a coupon instead of doing, for example, lowering your price by default, because you want Amazon to retain your list price as the original price and use that as a benchmark for discounts. So when you're doing prime exclusive discounts, it's based on that higher. Let's say it's $80. You need a 20% discount for prime exclusive. That's $16 down. So what is that? $64. But instead, if you lower the price to $64 before that, now you have to lower another 20% because that becomes your reference price. So making sure that you're getting creative with coupons, discount prices, prime exclusive discounts, and referencing the high list price in the first place. Now for the seventh principle, we have ratings and reviews. This is very obvious. The better your ratings, the better your reviews, the more customers will be attracted to you. You want to make sure that you're using this to your advantage. I made a video specifically on this that's very detailed about ratings and reviews. Make sure to watch it. It's going to be right over here, but it's going to be talking about that more extensively. The eighth principle is to test relentlessly. What you think is good doesn't necessarily have to be good. There's millions of testing softwares out there. There's even one within Amazon now, Manage Your Experiments. We've used it. It's not horrible. There's even ones that's outside. There's famous ones like Intellivi, Pickful, all these kind of ones. You can go. We're not affiliated with anyone, so we don't make anything. But make sure you test the premium A plus content against others premium A plus content. We also have our internal surveys for certain customer databases for bigger brands, which are obviously more accurate because you're testing a specific customer database. But generic testing is fine as well. I mean, they're cheaper, they're quick. You can get quick data on it. We do that sometimes when we're just trying to test things out quick. And we're continuously testing as well. Like we like to test the main image every 6 months, but even other stuff that's not as crucial, we do it every 3 months because it has less implications if it changes. So secondary images, we're doing that very often. So the title, the bullet points, the premium A plus content, we're testing that relentlessly. The ninth principle is to having an aligned strategy. This is one that we actually ran into lately, is making sure that we have large SEO, PPC, and creative teams. There's 30 separate teams, making sure they're all working together. You don't want, let's say, for example, the PPC team, they were trying to market this product. They wanted to market it. We were doing bad on the, let's say, working or office equipment, right? If they're going to do office equipment, then we have to make sure the SEO team explains how this is office equipment. It helps you focus. Then we made sure the creative team has someone sitting on a desk like this one and has this in there and increase productivity by X% or 20%. We use a study, but you can see how aligning it's very useful. But if you're not aligning it, you have let's say you're using workout equipment, or working equipment, and then PPC is talking about this, using it for sleeping, and it has stuff for sleeping in there, then it's not good. This happens very frequently when you're doing ads. Let's say you're doing Father's Day gifts. You target Father's Day gift, you add that to SEO, but you also add in the creative, and you see a dad carrying it and he's happy or whatever. And then finally, you have to understand to use time to your advantage. I mean, this is a principle. It's more of a mindset as well for the last one. Is as long as you have healthy fundamentals, with time, your ratings get better, your reviews get better, and then also you're signaling to Amazon that you're here for a long time, not a short time, and that they're seeing that you're in stock continuously. They're happy of your performance, so they're continually the algorithm is going to continually reward that for you and gradually increase you as well. So you want to signal healthy performance over a long period of time. All in all, you need an offer so good that your buyers would feel stupid saying no to you, not choosing your competitors over you. Credit to Alex Formosi, you mentioned this frequently, and it's something that we've tried to implement for many of our products. And even just as a test buy, like honestly, I go to some products myself, and there's a brand we recently onboarded. It's like I just searched for the product, and I was talking to the prospect I was talking to. He was mad that his conversion rate wasn't high, even though he's doing really good in retail. I was like, yes, but Amazon customers don't know your brand yet. Maybe the retail buyers are familiar with it. So when you're going over here, unless you're getting branded search, which we were looking at the regular keywords, the customers listings look much better, much more established. So it's like we have to redo the pricing, we have to redo a lot of things. The main image, the secondary images, communicating the main value adds to those customers, and understanding what that looks like. If you found this video helpful, you might actually want to check out how we revive old listings over here. I just made this video a few weeks ago, and it's been really helpful even for our internal team. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications for future videos revealing exactly what we do for free. And if you're a brand doing over $1 million per year, come check us out at Voadera.com, schedule a strategy session, get a free audit, speak to a specialist, see what we can do for your brand.